Hello.
Hey, Soraya Jeff, how are you?
I'm all right. Yourself?
I'm doing well. So we are in our 60s in our podcast numbering. So can you believe it? We talk about music that's inspired from the 60s, and we actually made it up to 60s numerically.
That's pretty dang cool, if you ask me.
It's crazy. So do you remember in June when we were guests on the JFJ Conspiracy video podcast?
Well, of course I do.
Yeah. Yeah, that was fun. So it was their episode number 18, JFJ Conspiracy. They invited us on to talk about Paisley Stage Raspberry and Rhyme. And if I remember correctly, we talked about the Scorpions' Blackout album.
Right.
Not really up our alley, but that was a lot of fun. Those guys talk about classic rock albums, so we decided to reciprocate and invite the three of them from the JFJ Conspiracy podcast onto our podcast, right?
Yes.
All right. Well, should we get started?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Hi, this is Soraya.
And this is Jeff.
Our podcast is called Paisley Stage Raspberry and Rhyme.
A podcast where the two of us play music that we like and share anecdotes and background about the tunes.
We hope you'll join our conversation. And without further ado, a grooviar.
Let's get groovy. All right. Should we say anything before we bring these guys on? Is there anything we want to talk about them before we bring them on?
Well, just that it's three guys, Jerry, Frank, and Jim. And we, like them, are just passionate about good music and like to share our opinions and turn people on to different things. So they've been really kind to have us on before, and we only felt it was time to return the favor and have them on to discuss a pretty amazing piece of work. But we'll wait for the guys, and then we'll talk about it together.
All right, sounds good. Let's add them to the call. Here we go.
Hey, hello there.
Hey, Frank!
How are you?
Very well. How are you doing, Frank?
Good.
Look at Frank's outfit. He is in the scene, man.
That's right.
Woo! Setting the tone.
That's right. I had my hat, but the cat knocked it off. So.
Big Jim.
There's Jim.
Hello.
And Jerry. Oh my God. We're all
There's
together.
everybody.
We did this. So that was our biggest concern, was if we could get through to everybody, get everybody on the line.
It's working.
All right. Well, before we had you guys on, we were talking about the fact that you guys had us on your episode 18 of the JFJ Conspiracy back in June, the summertime. And that was, we had such a great time that we didn't want the party to end. So
Awesome.
We thought we'd have you guys on. But before we get started talking about our album that we've chosen, we wanted to ask you guys about your podcast and how you guys came to know each other.
Okay. Take it away, Jim.
Oh, I get to say, okay,
Sure.
Great. So I have known Frank since like the 5th grade.
Wow.
And we really became friends kind of in the 6th grade. And our love of music is one of the things that kind of bonded us together. And we were big fans of Elton John and The Who and Kiss and probably a little later on Aerosmith, I guess.
Right.
Led Zeppelin. And so that was one of the things that kind of bonded us together. And so I've known Frank a long time, and we've discussed music and argued about music since that time.
Yep.
And we met Jerry in high school, and you'll hear Jerry often during the podcast refer to this. This isn't any different than high school.
Nope.
And we had this little area outside the school library where we would stand around every day during break and lunchtime and have these same discussions about
Absolutely.
which albums were great, which ones sucked, who was great, and
I was always right. Let's make that clear.
Yeah,
first.
just like he is on the show.
Yeah.
you were always right about having an opinion.
Yeah, that's about it. Yeah.
And he has an opinion, and he has an opinion on everything, and he'll let you know
every single thing.
And so we go back a long way, and we sort of reconnected several years ago after jobs and kids and everything else, and this kind of started right back up. We'd be texting each other about different hey, have you heard this? And back and forth about new stuff that was coming out and how much we loved old stuff and things that our old heroes were kind of doing. And I had kind of floated the idea to Frank like sometime previous to that about doing a podcast. And my idea was I was going to do sort of a power pop podcast, but it was one of those things that like forever floated the idea, never did it. And we got into a little discussion one day about I don't even remember what band it was, and we had said something about like, well, if I was in their shoes, this is kind of what I would say. And the next day they sort of issued a statement right along those lines, and then Frank said, that's it, we're doing a podcast. And so and because he's always right, we didn't argue with him. We just said, okay,
like in high school.
Let's do it. And by that afternoon, he had set us up on Buzzsprout and said, okay. And we really didn't even know what we were doing, but we just sort of said, well, this is it. We're jumping in. Yeah, I know. A lot of times still doesn't feel like we have our feet underneath us. But
it's a work in progress.
It's a work in progress, as all things are. But, more than anything else, we're just kind of doing what comes natural to us. And just putting it out there, and we're having a good time.
Nice.
And that's really what it comes down to.
And for my side of it, Jeffrey and Soraya, Jim and Frank were in elementary school together, so I was in a different part of town, even though we were real close, so different elementary school. So you went all the way to the 8th grade, then you went to the high school, and I remember meeting Frank in freshman football. And I've worked at a drive-through dairy with Frank, and I've worked at a industrial laundry complex with Jim. But to get back to it, we would do this right in front of the library at high school and just do exactly what we do on our show. The reason we got back together after, I think it was 38, literally with no contact with them, I had messaged Frank like a year earlier, and he got back to me, and he said, oh, sorry, I had my filter on if you're not my contacts. Anyway, so he says, well, I'm still in contact with Jim and Todd, Mark, some of our other friends. So we all got refriended together, and Todd's girlfriend at the time, his wife now, Debbie, was friends with my wife, who's my wife now. So I re-met her after 38 years.
Wow.
She was my girlfriend in 7th grade.
Wow.
Yes, it's groovy like that. And
totally romantic.
Wow.
And I married them. Wow.
Jim is the bishop that married us. And it's just, it all started with a message to Frank that got ignored for a year. So he hasn't changed at all. But that's how it started, you guys. It's just, it's mind-blowing. And so that's it. But we literally did this in front of the high school. We were with some cats, some passed away. But there was this group of us like thugs, but we weren't thug. We would just stand around and talk about what we do on our show. So
nice.
How did you guys meet?
To Frank?
No, Jeffrey and Soraya. How did you?
Well, before that, I want to add one thing in.
Yeah.
So, talk about the format of your show, because one thing is for the three of you to share your opinions about established bands, but I think you guys add in a really necessary extra component.
We do bands. Frank and Jim are the masters of that. I'm the comic relief because Jim's and Frank's musical tastes are way beyond mine. Mine's so very simple and so narrow that a lot of the stuff I don't know if you see on the show they're talking about, and I go like this. Oh yeah, I don't know what they're talking about. I've never heard of the band. I never heard of the producer. But it was like that in school too, because Frank and Jim would say, "Hey, we're gonna go to the Whiskey A Go Go this weekend, or we're gonna go watch this," and
you're like, "Yeah."
I'd stay at home. No, I'd say, "Yeah, okay," and then go put on my Journey Departure album.
But what we really like to do is reach out to new and unsigned bands, indie bands, and each of us select one of those bands, and we present a little bit of their song on our podcast and give a little bio. If they get back to us with a bio, if not, it's what we get on Facebook or Bandcamp or whatever. And we discuss that, what we like, what we don't like, and try to give them some exposure to our fans. And then from there, we like to revisit a classic rock album every episode. And that's my favorite part of the show, because we have three very different styles of what we like. And that's where the real conversation gets. Yeah. Because we all like new music. We all want everybody to succeed in the music business any way they can. If you're willing to get up and play live, more power to you.
Oh, yeah.
But these classic rock albums are really what brought us all together in the first place. So
nice.
We each pick one the following week or following episode, and we present it. And we started playing a little bit of the music and trying to stay out of the legalities of it all. But we're going to do it until the wheels fall off. That's just the way I see it. There you go.
Nice.
All right, Jeff. Now you can tell our origin story, how you found me. And it wasn't in high school near the library and hanging out.
No.
Hey, Jeff, can I just add something real quick? I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Jerry and I were, like he said, on the freshman football team. My only year playing football, because I stopped growing freshman year. That was it for me.
I wasn't going to say it.
Same for me. Yeah, same for me.
I have no problem with it.
He self-disclosed.
Yes.
Oh, I'm not touching that one, Soraya. No.
But Jerry and I we were like third, fourth string, whatever. We literally had to put dirt on each other's uniforms and tell our parents we played. Yeah. Because we were bench riders the whole time.
Yep.
Nice.
Yep.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yep.
So Soraya and I met from our love of the Paisley Underground, which is our main focus, and we were both listening to a radio show that one of the members, Michael Quercio from the 3 o'clock, he has a radio show. And they also have a little chat group. So while him and his co-host, Lena, are playing music, they'll have a group of listeners that are chatting and having a conversation. And there was a small group of us that really got to, I guess, be part of the inner circle, would you say, Soraya? Or at least we created our own circle. Let's just say that. So we started meeting outside of the virtual world and in the real world, as they say, as the kids say, right? IRL. Yeah, Soraya and I really hit it off. And like Jim, like you were saying, I had an idea to do a podcast. And I brought the idea to my wife, not thinking that she would be interested at all. And Soraya and I have a mutual friend, Rain, and I was talking to her about it. And both Chris and Rain said at the same time, Soraya is your co-host. So
there you go.
Neither one of them were wrong. So she holds the show down. I think I'm just here for the eye candy. Wait.
Same here.
Jerry,
God bless you. I didn't want to say it like that because I'm not conceited like that. It's a terrible trait to have to go through life being eye candy, Jeffrey. I agree.
Such a burden, Jerry.
Yeah, it's a burden.
So now that we have the introductions out of the way, I guess it's time to find out
what's in Jim's fridge.
No, just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
You have Jim's fridge on there?
No.
I got nothing in there but leftover sandwiches at the moment.
Yeah, but what kind of?
No, so I'm a big fan of the JFJ Conspiracy, and they have several different parts to their episodes, to their podcast, as Frank was mentioning. One of which is the mail call, where Frank will pull out what he's purchased. And then there's a section where what's in Jim's fridge, which is always fun for me, where Jim will walk back and pull something out of his refrigerator behind the screen, and we get to see what he's got to highlight. So that's always fun.
Because it's just too cool.
That had a really weird origin, because I do the podcast from just off my kitchen, and always the refrigerator was in the back, and people kept kind of bugging the podcast saying, well, what's in his fridge? I keep waiting for him to lean back and pull out a beer or something. And so we just kind of got this idea that I would, pull out interesting bits of vinyl from my personal collection.
Nice. So, I love that. And then now you guys have a new section or new component when you're asking your listeners what floats their boats or what floats your boat. So That's been really fun for me to see what your listeners are listening to.
Well, we expect videos from both of you.
From both of you, exactly.
I've got one in the making, so
Awesome.
We'll see if it makes the cut to make the show. But Soraya, what album did we decide to talk about today?
So, with three distinguished musical minds, we decided, how do we link both our shows? And we decided to go with one of the classics. It's an influence on a lot of the Paisley underground bands that Jeff and I are interested in, but also it was a pivotal musical moment when it came out. And we're talking about Forever Changes by Love.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So,
Great album.
yes. Yeah.
So,
And just really quick, Frank, Jim, Jerry, had you guys listened to the album before, or was this a first shot?
First shot for me.
All right.
Same thing.
First time all the way through.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay,
Yeah.
so this is going to be fun, Jeff.
Yes. So the album came out in 1967. So I was born in the summer of love, like right in the middle, July 14th, 1967. So I was born when this album came out, but it's still one of my top favorite albums. So what we wanted to do is ask you guys your favorite songs, but we wanted to save that to the end. And we wanted to go through each song and just play a couple seconds of it, maybe 20, 30 seconds, and then do a round robin and see what you guys think of each song, if that's okay.
Yeah, great. Are we going after each song?
Yeah, after each song.
Oh, okay.
So hopefully it'll spark a thought or a remembrance when you hear it. So we'll start off with the first track, Alone Again Or. So let's listen to a few seconds of it, and then we'll see what everybody thinks.
It's alright, I won't forget all the times I've waited patiently for you, and you'll do just what you choose to do, and I will be alone again tonight, my dear.
All right, that's all we get. So we're very curious what you guys think of this opening song from this album. Should we go in order of the names? So
Yes.
Jim, Frank, Jerry?
Yeah, Jim. Oh,
Okay.
that'll help us out all the way through. I guarantee it.
Gladly. So this version was not the first version I ever heard. The very first version of this I ever heard was UFO.
Mm-hmm.
And then later I heard the version by Love, and then later after that, The Damned.
Wow.
There's not a version that I've heard that I don't like of this song, because I just love this song. And interestingly,
Agree.
it was the one song that was written by Brian McLean on the album. I think everything else was written by Arthur Lee.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds like it. It's very different from everything else on the album. But love this song.
Nice.
Love it.
Frank?
Well, for me, right off the bat, you get the Byrds influence. You know, you can hear the tastings of that genre of music, and being of the sound mind that I am, and the love of rock and roll, I was a little let down because I read the description first, thinking psychedelic. All right, we're gonna get some Iron Butterfly, and it's acoustic guitar, beautiful music. Don't get me wrong, took me by surprise. But it was a pleasant surprise.
Interesting.
And when we get into some of the other songs, man, the solos are great. But this one here, I heard the Byrds all over it.
Nice.
That was my take.
Nice. Jerry?
Yeah, Jeffrey, I love that song, and I'll be honest with you, I never even heard of this band before you guys brought it up. And I'm older than you, Jeffrey, which I don't get how that happened. But like I said, Jim and Frank have wide open musical knowledge. I don't. Mine's pretty narrow. But for this tune, I loved it a lot. And I've got my notes. I got great harmonics, great horns. I love horns. And great strings, orchestral. And And I love this. I love this whole album. There's only one on there. I'll let you guys know which one it is. That was like, but everything else shines. How I never heard of this band, I don't know. But I have the remastered version of it, and this whole thing is great.
I'm so glad, Jerry, that you weren't familiar with it. I'm really glad that we get to hear your take on it as fresh ears. I'm really glad that we'll have that perspective.
Yes, me too. Thank you for that.
That's awesome. So you guys noted some of the covers. There's so many covers of this song, and I wrote down a couple of them. Jim, like you said, UFO, their version came out in 1977. The Damned did theirs in 1986. Sarah Brightman did a cover in 1990. Boo Radley's did a pretty cool cover in 1991. The Oblivions in 1993. The Chris Perez Band in 1999. And there's a band called Calexico. I don't know, Jim, if you're familiar with them. They did a version in 2004. To me, Calexico took this kind of sound and made an entire catalog of music from it. This song is what Calexico is. I highly recommend those. And then
I'm gonna have to check them out.
Yeah, they're very similar. Right now. And then Matthew Sweet and Susanna Hoffs from the Bangles got together and they did an album of covers called Under the Covers, and they did this song on their Volume 1. So
said it's alright. I won't forget all the times I've waited patiently for you, and you'll do just what you choose to do, and I will be alone again tonight, my dear.
that was pretty cool.
I think there's like 3 volumes, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Under the Covers albums, but they're great covers of a lot of great 60 songs.
Mm-hmm.
So I wrote down a few notes myself. The song was recorded on September 10th, 1967. Interestingly enough, at Sunset Sound Recorders in Hollywood. I think that's not far from Amoeba, if I'm mistaken. It's
correct.
Pretty close to that area. And Rolling Stone magazine listed this song as number 442 of the 500 greatest songs of all time. I can't say that I disagree. It's definitely one of the best songs. Yeah. It was a reader's poll, actually, so it wasn't their staff journalists. It was
even better then.
Exactly. Yeah. And one of my favorite lines is it says, "All the times I've waited patiently for you, and you'll do just what you choose to do, and I will be alone again tonight, my dear." It's so heartbreaking to hear that. Yeah. And Jim, you mentioned the vocals by Brian McLean, who wrote the song, and both of him and Arthur are working together on these vocals, and I just love listening to it. And if you hear it on the headphones, just hearing the two of them bouncing off each other, it sounds great. And Jerry, like you mentioned, that the violins for me they sound so sweet. The orchestration on this, I don't necessarily feel that is a positive thing throughout the whole album, but on this song, it sounds great. The acoustic guitars, the horns, and that little solo part with that Spanish bullfighting kind of feel. I love it. I love it.
Yes.
Just makes it. So makes it for me.
They evidently got like a mariachi band in there to do that part or something.
Sounds great. It sounds great. It makes the song to me.
Yeah. It's very cool, very different.
So speaking about Latin, how about our Latin queen, Soraya?
Look, there's nothing I can add to this other than, Frank, your comment about, I was expecting kind of like Inagana de Vida in another space. But what I think is really psychedelic is this. Love takes they don't look at the challenge of bringing in new sounds or anything to literally just kind of bust the musical model wide open. And that to me is psychedelia. Yeah. And then like the lyrics. So Jeff, you noted one, I'm going to note another. So, and this is in the third verse. He says, "I heard a funny thing somebody said to me, that I could be in love with almost everyone. I think that people are the greatest fun, and I'll be alone again tonight, my dear." It's like, and so it's like this contrast of this music, which is really kind of uplifting and building, and then it's like gut punch.
Taken away.
Still gonna walk away alone. This bed is gonna be cold.
Yeah.
And then
The lyrics are a little depressing versus
But I'm
the
telling
actual music, right?
Right.
It doesn't have a happy ending, and this is what I love about this era of music is things don't have to be wrapped up in a nice shiny little box with a red bow.
No.
It can be something that you wrestle with and the feelings. And like track 2, which is one of my favorite tracks on this album, I think is another entry into this kind of like, let's just keep blowing the model up.
All right, well, let's listen to it.
I like.
You want to intro it?
A house is not a motel.
At my house I've got no shackles. You can come and look if you want to. Through the halls you'll see the mantles where the light shines dim all around you. And the streets are paved with gold. And if someone asks you, you can call my name.
All right. Jim, what do you say about this one?
I really liked this song. Extremely catchy to my mind, and I love the way the music kind of shifts gears in the middle of the verse. Mm-hmm. Like he sings a couple lines, and then it like kind of shifts gears a little bit, and then you get that great sort of staccato kind of drumming and thing in between the verses. But this was one of the songs I liked most on the album.
Nice. Frank?
All right, this is where it really picked up for me. I love the bass lines.
Yes.
And this is where production to me, again, with the headphones, you just hear stuff going on all over the place. And I loved it. And the solo, if I'm not mistaken, could have been Tony Iommi. I mean, it's just, there's 2 of them going on, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so, yeah.
And it is just wild. Yeah. It is a great sound. Totally love this song.
Nice.
Not my favorite, but I loved it.
All right. How about you, Jerry?
Jeffrey, I looked at my notes and I put very moody bluesy, but according to this time frame, maybe moody bluesy copied Lovey. Maybe copied Love. And I have very moody bluesy and great guitar leads.
Nice.
On my notes. So yes, if there's 2 of them exchanging, I always love a dual lead. But that's what I have is great guitar leads next to my notes, Jeffrey.
I'm so glad that you brought up Moody Blues. I'll return to that later on in the the episode. My notes said that I love that rhythm after the verses where it does that dun 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 dun.
Yes.
There's a band that I like called The Steps, and they have a song that it sounds a lot like this. So I had to reach out to them. They were an 80s band. I'm like, did you guys like Love? Because that riff sounded so much like it. And he's like, yeah, one of a few songs we stole, but yeah, there was the influence there. I also made a note that I loved the lead. The lead riff is really cool.
That's what I got.
And
great leads. Yeah.
we were talking about all the covers of Alone Again, or there's a really neat cover of this song by a band called YOLO Tango. It was on their debut album, Ride the Tiger, an album that I really, really like a lot, but they do a really cool version of A House Is Not a Motel, so that's worth looking into. And then I just made a note of one of the stanzas that I really liked, where they sing, by the time that I'm through singing, the bells from the schools and the walls will be ringing. More confusions, blood transfusions. The news today will be the movies for tomorrow, and the waters turn to blood. If you don't think so, go turn on your tub. I didn't like the tub part, but it seemed kind of a cheap rhyme. But otherwise, I thought it was dark, and it tells a lot about like the later part of the 60s. So the mid 60s was all love and peace and harmony, and then the later years got a little dark, and there was a lot of bad things happening with Altamont and Vietnam, and it's a lot of that heaviness you hear in that line alone. So
and like Soraya says, it doesn't have to be a pleasant verse to be a good song.
Exactly.
So heavy.
Soraya?
Just for me, it's the driving rhythm of those guitars. It's like this constant attack, right? Where you don't even get a chance to take a breath. And that's how, like, the rhythm of the song is just dun 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 dun. It's grinding, and then, and then it ends and you exit out and you're like, literally, what just happened to me? What just happened to me? And the lyrics definitely make you stop and think. Verse 2, he goes, and the streets are paved with gold. And if someone asks you, you can call my name, you can call my name. I hear you calling my name. Yeah, all right now. I hear literally like, yeah, it looks good now. Wait. And, but it's that thing of like, I'm calling your name and no one's answering. I don't know. There's a lot of layers in this song. I like it.
Nice.
Unlike Frank. Anyway.
Well, let's listen to more. In fact, and more again.
Beautiful.
And more again.
Well done, Jeffrey.
1, 2, 16, 1, 2, 3, 4. And if you see and more again, then you will know and more again, for you can see you in her eyes. Then you feel your heart beating from bum bum bum. And when you give
All right, Jim, get us started.
So very, very folk influence there. Like Frank was talking about it with the acoustic guitars throughout the record, and I was surprised by how sort of folky, psychedelic this song was. So it was surprising to me, and the title. I had to look at that over and over again,
right.
And because it's such an unusual word, and the way it's used in the song was really kind of cool to me. I liked this song. I don't know if I liked it as much as the previous one, "A House Is Not a Motel," but one of I think one of the better songs on there.
Nice. Frank?
Now, you guys may kick me off right here now. I don't know. We'll find out. I love the song. The album takes a turn almost like a concept album to me because, like Soraya's saying, some of these tunes are dreary, but you got such pretty music, so you keep on listening and everything else. But I kept on going back. Are you guys familiar with the soundtrack to Hair? Remember that?
Yeah.
It kept on popping in my mind for whatever reason. It's a little later in the era, but it was kind of a coming out type situation, where we need to be who we are going to be, and the song itself, like I say, the title alone was enough to, keep me interested. But this is this recurring theme in this whole album of it's reality, for the time. So loved it though. Good tune.
Nice. What about you, Jerry?
I've got ballad, strings, and voice. And
Nice.
A lot of stuff out there. Of course, I was a child during this stuff, but wrapping my head around this album and this band is something awesome. Again, Jeffrey, I go the same way you do. I go AirPod or headphone or whatever. And I just, on my notes, I just, I have ballad, voice, strings, and this is good stuff. And I really appreciate you introducing me to this band. And then I'm writing down on my notepad the other bands you're mentioning, because I'm going to get into it. I love this stuff. This whole album is fantastic.
Wow.
And
That's cool.
These guys aren't, more. I mean, this album did pretty good on the top 500. I think it was. Whatever, it did pretty good. But for me, in my own personal space in my head, to have never heard of this band and listen to this album is a treat. It's a treat. Yeah. So thank you for that. Yeah. Thank you.
When I think of Love, I think of them as like one of those kind of bands that were really influential on other bands, but didn't make it
Absolutely.
so big. Like Big Star was for so long. They were such a big influence on so many bands, but they did not make it that big during their time.
But you can hear it. You can hear the influence. I'm sorry. Yeah, you can hear it. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
No, you're absolutely right in that love is someone that people always say, when I heard Forever Changes, X, Y, and Z happened, or it made me think of music differently, it made me approach songwriting. And people talk about Arthur Lee, as really this revered figure, which he absolutely deserves. And then it makes you scratch your head going, why is he not more in the conversation?
Absolutely.
Like Sky Saxon, we can talk about Sky Saxon from the Seeds in a similar way, where like, here are two guys that were really bringing new things into the scene, but like Jeff said, just not commercially successful at the time that they were coming out. Other bands that had more of a commercial appeal. But there's no doubt the influence of Arthur Lee, no doubt the influence of Love, and the bands that Jeff and I like point to them always. The Bangles have done a cover of 7 and 7 Is, and it appears on the Bangles compilation. Every single one of those bands points to Forever Changes as a pivotal moment musically. So, Jerry, you're absolutely correct.
It's wonderful.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right.
Okay, Jeff, what about you?
So I wrote down on my notes, the count in is 1, 2, 16, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm like, wait, what kind of counting is this? There's a lot of these songs that start in with a count in, so which is kind of cool. Going back to what Frank said earlier, the production on this, the acoustics, I thought the acoustic guitars sound really good on this. Yeah. And it's hard for me to tell, but it sounds to me like it's an acoustic 12-string that's playing. It's hard to tell because sometimes it sounds like a 6-string, it sounds like a 12-string, but whatever, it sounds phenomenal. And then I noted that the violins on the song, I really, really like those a lot. It kind of reminded me of like a Burt Bacharach kind of piece of something that he would write a little bit. And just one of the lyrics I wrote down that I thought was interesting is, and I'm wrapped in my armor, but the things are material, and I'm lost in confusions, 'cause my things are material, and you don't know how much I love you. Oh. So I thought that was touching. So, Soraya, what did you have?
For me, it's just the melody. The melody is really haunting. And the other thing, as everyone's talking, I keep thinking about these strings, these violins. And one of the things I think about is, at the same time, I can imagine what other artists were using strings, were using violins, like Ray Conniff and the Ray Conniff Singers, Lawrence. Right. So this song, by introducing this element that could be schmaltzy, they really transform it and transform this song. I think it's this really cool extra element. And this is what makes Love so different. It takes something that modern music could say, oh, no, I don't want that because that's the old generation. That's old. And then here they bring it in and they incorporate it so beautifully. Hands down, great.
Nice. Yeah. Well, let's move on. So the next up, we have the fourth track, The Daily Planet. Let's give it a listen.
Woohoo!
All right, Jim. What do you have for this?
Okay, so as I was going through this, so we've had 4 songs, and each one is different from the other one.
Yeah.
Although I think Alone Again Or stands out because it's the only, like I said, it's the only one that's written by somebody different. But when you get to the Daily Planet, so when I heard this, I thought, like, this is a song where I sort of hear where I heard Paisley Underground when I heard this song.
Oh.
Because it's more of kind of like a straight up kind of pop rock song. At least for me, that was kind of my take on it. There were a couple little vocal moments where I thought, like, oh, there's Michael Piercio singing.
Very interesting. That's very interesting. I love that insight. I didn't pick that up. Frank, what did you think?
Oh, this is a song that I love. Not my favorite, but I love this one.
You're keeping us in suspense.
Yes. But what I like about this whole album, again, we talked about the production and everything. I'm a real big fan of dry drums in that era of the production. And again, put the headphones on and you listen to those drums. They're kind of panned to the right a little bit, and you can really hear them nice and clean and crisp, and it just brings the song forward so well. And this song, it's because it's an up-tempo tune. I don't know how these guys could sing some of these songs with these lyrics because they go on and on and on. Take a breath. Take a breath. But I love it. I mean,
how do you really feel about it, Frank?
I have those same thoughts on the lyrics.
Yeah. But overall, very, very cool tune. And another influence, a band that was influenced by these guys, as I was reading, was The Doors. Did not know that. They were heavily influenced by Love.
Wow.
Label mates. They were both on Elektra.
Yeah.
Contemporaries, both out of the LA scene.
Yeah.
Doors chose to tour, and again, go on. These guys, for whatever reason, didn't want to tour at that time. They waited till the later years when it was too late.
Yeah.
So it's sad. They missed an opportunity.
Yep. Yeah, that could be one of the reasons why they're not in the larger conversation that we have.
I think so.
Yeah.
Jerry, what do you think of the Daily Planet?
Jeffrey and Soraya and Jim and Frank, I've got harmonies. Absolutely love the bass work in this tune.
Yeah.
The bass work is awesome. And of course you can't forget about Plastic Nancy. That's one of my notes. Harmonies, bass work, and Plastic Nancy.
Nice. Yeah, I noted that I thought the lyrics were interesting because it starts off, it says, in the morning we arise, start the day the same old way as yesterday, the day before, and all in all, it's just a day like all the rest, so do your best with chewing gum, and it's oh so repetitious, waiting on the sun. Look, we're going round and round, so it's just like, it's just another day, but the music doesn't sound like that. Like, it's not just like the boring same old thing, just day after day, but it's a valid topic, right? I mean, sometimes it just feels like you're in a rut, right? And things just it's just another day. Like, and but I like the part. There's a little bit of optimism when he says, "Do your best with chewing gum." It sounds weird, like the chewing gum part, but I think of it as like it's just a mundane activity. But he's saying I feel like it's just another day, but even in the mundane things, just do your best.
Give your best anyway.
That's what I got out of it. I don't know if that was the intention, but it makes me feel that way. And then my only note was these first 4 songs are an extremely strong start to an album. Like these first 4 right out the bat, and then we'll talk about the next song. So,
Jeff and I like to talk a lot about where songs get placed in track order. And so, he and I have a theory about like the first 4 or 5 songs is really showing that kind of diversity of the band and what they're really capable of. Because Jim, I liked your observations. Like each song is different. Each one highlights something different or unique. And so I agree with you, Jeff. Number 4, this is a pretty badass song to have at number 4. And then if you look at all the lyrics or if you listen to it again, it does go from like, we've got this mundane and then we have these observations of Plastic Nancy. She's real fancy. Mm-hmm. But then, the line is, she's real fancy with her children. They'll go far. She buys them toys to keep in practice, waiting on the war. And so it's like, okay, so she's a little bit of privilege, but not really. And then it's like, we're all fighting that war. We're, day starts and the routine again, but then there are these little bits that show us different facets of life.
Yeah.
But for me, it's a really interesting take and a really interesting story in the bass line. I agree with you,
Yes.
Jeff.
Oh, the bass line is yes.
All right. Soraya, I don't know if you can relate to this other one, but you other three guys. All right. So here's old.
What's that you're saying, Jeffrey? I can't hear you.
Turn my hearing aid up and we'll listen to it.
All right.
For those of you who don't get the subtle joke, it's Old Man, track 5.
I once knew a man, been everywhere in the world. Gave me a tiny ivory ball, said it would bring me good. Never believed it would until I had been loving you. Dear old man, he'd seen most everything.
All right, this one is the one that I'm most curious about what you three think of this. So, Jim, get us started.
Very poppy, and the whole album sounds very much a product of its time, right? They orchestrated a lot of this record, and I started noticing as we were going through, and especially I'll comment probably a little more on the next song. It's an album that for me is you can't just throw this on and be doing something. Like, you have to really concentrate on what's going on the record. It's not background music. It's something you really have to listen to. And it was a little tough to. This was the shortest song on the bunch, but I started listening to some of this stuff and thinking, like, this sounds like a song that would be like on a soundtrack from the 1960s movie. I don't know why.
Interesting.
That's just the way it hit me.
It's interesting that you noted the length of the song, because as a fan of your guys' podcast, Jim, I know you're a fan of under 3 minutes for a song. The shorter, the better for you, right? If it's over 3, you're for the most part, generally speaking, you can let those songs slide, right? So there was a couple songs on here as I was preparing for this, noting the length of it. And I'm like, oh, this one's gonna be. I don't know how many times.
Alley, right?
Yeah.
A little slower. I mean, compared to what's come before us here in the track listing.
All right. Yeah. Fair enough. Frank.
Okay, being an old man, I have to say, the moment you guys contacted us and said, hey, let's do a podcast and let's talk about this album, like Jerry went to iTunes, checked it out.
That's my vehicle. Yep.
Put my headphones on, and I'll be damned if I didn't fall asleep every time this song came on. I made it. I was digging the first 4 tunes. I have yet to make it through all of Old Man. It's just too slow for me. It's just not my style. It would be one that if it was a 45 on B-side, it would never get flipped over. I would never play it.
Wow.
Fair enough.
It reminded me, it was a little Simon Garfunkel-y to me.
Folky.
Yeah, that's fair. Jerry, did you ever make it to the end of the song?
Yeah, I had no problem with this. I put my note is ballad, great ballad, voice, and a great bass line again.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Man.
So that was the one thing for me, was the bass. That's the one thing that keeps it from me not listening to the song. So my notes, I put the album takes.
Turn up the bass on your speaker, Frank. Yeah.
I put the album takes a big dip right here on this song. But I'm a fan of vibe in songs or with bands. Like, there's certain bands that really have like a cool vibe to them. Like the Shins, for example, for me, I feel like they just have this vibe to them that is really cool. And this song has, I think, a cool vibe, but I'm not quite falling asleep, but I get what you're saying, Frank. But on the positive side, the bass line, not only is the bass line, but the sound of the bass, like it sounds to me like it could be a Hofner bass, which is something that Paul McCartney would play. It sounds like it's got like an acoustic electric sound. So Jim's the bass player. I was going to mention that Jim and Frank are the musicians in the group. But I don't know. Did you happen to notice, Jim, if that could be that kind of sound?
I'm not an expert from this era, but the bass sounds a lot sharper on this song. So I noticed on a couple songs, like the bass is really moving along, but it's got almost like a little bit of a muddy tone to it.
Yeah, a little distortion, a little bit.
Yeah,
which makes me wonder what exactly they were playing.
Yeah, Soraya, settle this. What kind of bass is it?
Is one that you play. That's all.
Yeah, you don't need it.
It's got four strings.
Got four strings.
I don't know. I don't know nothing about nothing.
Okay, but what do you know about this song?
I like the lyrics in this song. Yes, the tone is way down. The speed and everything, it slows it way down. But I think the message is, especially at the end, is really poignant. Suddenly I found my way. I know the old man would laugh. He spoke of love's sweeter days. And in his eloquent way, I think he was speaking of you. You are so lovely. You didn't have to say a thing. Oh. I thought that was very sweet.
It is sweet. It is sweet.
And then we get the badass song that comes next.
Yeah.
Number track 6, The Red Telephone. Hey, Frank, if you were looking for psychedelia, boom, here's your
there it is.
Open the door.
But the problem is, before you play it, Jeff, I'm sleeping at this point.
So now I'm wake you up.
I'm tripping.
You don't wake up after each track, Frank?
No. I'm taking a nap. And I'm seriously, I'm tripping when I'm hearing this song because I'm in my sleep and it's a good one.
All right, well, let's give it a listen. This is The Red Telephone.
Sitting on a hillside, watching all the people die. I'll feel much better on the other side of the ride. I believe in magic. Why? Because it is so quick.
All right, Jim, get us started.
Okay, so psychedelia, very much so. And this is one so the lyrics, you really have to kind of be paying attention to what he's saying. And I kind of looked at a little bit of the background of this song. So I guess where they lived, there was a red telephone in the house, and that's how the song got its name. But there's nothing in here that has anything to do with the red telephone. And I started noticing that a lot of the lyrics, you have to kind of guess at what the meaning is, you know. But he seems to be very much singing about the issues of the time. And I think some of that darkness comes from what he was going through at the time. You know, addiction and isolation. He's having problems with his bandmates, and life was a bit of a mess. And when you think about how deep some of the lyrics are, it's amazing that he kind of wrote this. And I was also thinking kind of what to Frank's sort of comment before. There's huge lyrical content in these songs. I mean, it's like kind of verse after verse and bridge, and there's a lot to take in.
Absolutely. Frank, in your sleep?
In my sleep? Well, no, let me just say,
He sounds the same whether he's awake or not, folks.
Yes.
So I'm just saying that.
You know, you were talking, Soraya, about the horns and the violins and all this stuff, and the only other band in my mind that was doing that did it with huge success at this particular year and the year after was the Beatles. You had Sgt. Pepper, you had Magical Mystery Tour, but their lyric content was pop. It was just, it was fluff. These guys are doing some deep stuff. And maybe you guys can help me. Who's Phil and who's Bill?
Okay. Yeah.
It's you, man.
Like, is that like Phil and Don, the Everly Brothers?
I don't know. It was deep, though. Who knows?
Know which one's which? Yeah.
Yeah. All right,
Cool
Jerry.
tune. Very cool tune.
I've got Wonderful 12-string, and then I have. This is my sleeper on the album, folks.
Oh,
Okay.
This is the one I just put.
interesting.
Now I'm sure it's because I wasn't in the correct mindset at the time. I'm sure if I achieved that, this would be more than
Yeah.
But I put great 12-string, and then I put I spelled that EHHH. That's the only one on the album, and again, lyrical content gets to me about after I'm familiar with the tune heavily, and then I start listening to the lyrics. Yeah, unfortunately, but this, that's what I put. I put Wonderful 12-string, and again, Jeffrey and Soraya, like you say, the recording of these strings, whether it be a cello, violins, guitar, 12-string guitar, it's immaculate. In my opinion, this album strings of all sorts is immaculate. It's great recording. Heads up for this great recording from what, 1966?
Yeah.
It's
67. Yeah.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. It stands up today, absolutely. But yeah, this is my sleeper on the album. Yeah.
Interesting.
But it's all great though. Yeah.
So I made a note that I felt like it went on a little long, and I totally thought of Jim when I was listening to this. I'm like, if they could have condensed this down to like a 3-minute or less song, I thought it would be much better. It just felt like it just went on a little bit too long. And
that was my thought too.
Yeah,
actually.
Yeah. I was thinking of you at about the 2-minute 45 mark, and then
right.
2 minutes.
Yeah, you're getting close to Jim's threshold. Then,
Yeah,
Jeffrey.
and then
you're getting close. Yeah.
2 minutes after that, I was still thinking it. Yeah. So there's a little part in there. I think it's a harpsichord, a little sound in there that the Monkees used a lot, and I really like that sound in here. And then some of the lyrics that I noted. Again, the I feel real phony when my name is Phil or was Bill, and I just what? I throw my hands up when that part comes up. But I do like it's heavy, but the beginning part where it's sitting on the hillside watching all the people die, I'll feel much better on the other side. And then I like that he throws in I'll thumb a ride, which I thought was real apropos for the times, right? It's like a 60s thing.
Yep.
And then the ending chant says, they're locking them up today. They're throwing away the key. I wonder who it will be tomorrow, you or me. And I'm thinking like protesters getting thrown in jail.
Oh, yeah.
But then the other thing that I thought of as Arthur Lee's singing, I wonder who will be being thrown in jail tomorrow, you or me. I started thinking, well, you end up doing a little time later on, my friend. So, in 90,
Apparently it was him.
yeah, in 90,
Foreshadowing me.
yeah. So in 1996, Arthur Lee,
Pathetic.
yeah, he was sentenced to 12 years for negligent discharge of a firearm, and it was his third strike because he had done a couple years for arson and some drug-related things.
Yeah.
But he ended up getting released after only serving 5.5 years, and then the band got back together with a couple of the living members and some of the guys from, was it the Baby Lemonade? Was the band?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, I thought it was interesting that he's saying they're locking them up today. They're throwing away the key. I wonder who it will be tomorrow, you or me. So part of me is thinking, all right, what is the man going to do to the protester? And the other thing I was thinking is, yeah, you're going to be doing a little bit of time later on. But, although
Poor Arthur.
yeah, and he denied that that he did the the discharging of the firearm, and it sounds like it probably wasn't him. But anyways, so Soraya, what did you think of the song?
Look, I like this song a lot. And to me, the lyrics are just mind-bending. They're just an exploration of, your existence, Bill, who cares? We're all here. And that ending chant to me is really ominous because they're locking them up. And, it could be you, it could be me. We're all kind of in the same boat.
Right.
And then, like, at the very end, he says, day after day, I don't know if I'm living or if I'm supposed to be. It's like, really, where am I supposed to be? And I took that, I'll be happier when I'm on the other side, I'll hitch a ride, as going to Canada.
Oh.
Yeah.
I took it in that way.
Wow.
But
That's right.
But then again, it was the time of the protest, people were deferring, people were leaving. And so, but like, you can take this in a lot of ways, but that's how I interpreted it first. And then at the end, he says, sometimes my life is so eerie, and if you think I'm happy, paint me white, yellow, pink.
Okay.
And it's kind of like, when you're traveling through the existence in your brain and contemplating your life, and if you've had additional substances, and you're just kind of like thinking, man, along the dimensions. But I don't know. I like listening to lyrics and kind of deconstructing them in my head. So to me, this paints an interesting picture of the time. So.
Nice.
Soraya, can I ask you a quick question?
Sure.
You're a teacher, correct?
Yes.
What's your subject?
I'm a Spanish professor,
Oh.
but my focus is literature, if you couldn't tell. So I like listening to people. I like people's words. And
I was just thinking we needed a literature teacher to explain all this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
She's deep. Yeah, she's heavy in a good way.
Man, I am heavy.
Oh yeah, no, deep literature-wise, No,
I'm
not a wordsmith. I'm not a wordsmith, folks.
No, I like this sort of thing, but then again, I can sit and listen to poetry and go, man, that was deep. Yeah. So.
That's because you're the only one in the room who gets it.
Yeah.
I don't think so, but in my head I do.
Yeah. Bravo.
All right.
All right.
What's next, Jeff?
So let's move to track number 7, which has my favorite title from the album.
Holy moly. Yeah.
So this is Maybe the People Would Be the Times, or Between Clark and Hilldale.
What is happening and how have you been? Gotta go, but I'll see you again. And oh, the music is so loud. And then I fade into the crowds of people standing everywhere.
All right. Jim, what do you think?
Possibly my favorite song on this side. I loved how upbeat it was, and I loved the horns in it.
I have a comment about the horns too. I'll get to on my turn. So Frank, what do you think?
Well, I'm gonna talk about the horns. I'm thinking Fifth Dimension right off the bat. It reminded me of one of those tunes.
Oh.
And that's where it took me to Up and Away, or one of those happy songs, And then now I have to think about Soraya and how deep the lyrics are. It screws it all up.
Yeah.
I don't know nothing about nothing.
No, great song. Not my favorite, but it's a great song.
Nice. Jerry?
Same here, Jeffrey and Soraya. And Jim and Frank, I've got great horns, great guitar. And again, the recording of the guitars is so clean. It blows my mind that this is from the mid-'60s. It really does. If you listen to other stuff from the mid-'60s, it doesn't even come close to this. But yeah, I have great horns, great guitar. Wonderful song. Yep.
Interesting. I love hearing what you guys say about the horns, because that was something for me that was hard for me. The first time I listened to it, I love the horns on the rest of the album. On this song, I didn't the first time I heard it. It reminds me, Frank, you had mentioned the Doors. It reminds me of Touch Me. That come on now, touch me. And I feel like that they were really the band, The Doors, was really influenced by Love on that particular song. And as much as I love The Doors, the horns on that song is a little schmaltzy for me. And I flip-flop back and forth on this song. Like, sometimes I really like the horns, and then other times I'm like, wait, I don't like the horns. And then the next time I'm like, wait, they're actually pretty cool. So I was really curious to hear what you guys would think of that, because I keep flip-flopping back. But I like that line, and Jerry, you were mentioning the guitar. It's
wonderful recording.
It mimics that horn part, and there's a little lead part, and it's like dun 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 dun, dun, and it's so clean. And the production, I love that. I love that little line on the guitar, and then the title is great, and I really like it when a song will have a parenthetical, and it'll have a title, and it'll be or this other title, those type of titles always get me. So I love the title, and then the line, "When I leave now, don't you wait for me. I'll be back. Just save a seat for me." So, I'll be coming back. So, keep a spot for me right next to you. So I thought that was touching. So, Soraya, tell us about the words from this. What does it mean? Instruct us. We're your students. We're your pupils.
But I will talk about the guitar. It's so melodic on this song, and then once again, like Jim said, each song is different, and we get this kind of ebb and flow of the songs, and now we're like, it ramps up here, and I think it's an interesting intro to the next song. But I love the guitars on this, and yes, I love the lyrics. And I think it's more than anything just about our existence in communities, because like at the end he says, here where everyone is painted brown, obviously to me it's talking about his community of color, and if we feel that's not the way, let's go paint everybody gray. Like, let's not even look at color, let's remove color from the discussion. But there's a lot going on here, but then you've got all this musicality, right? So it's like you have to listen to the song a couple of times just to kind of, like Jeff, you're saying, to move past the schmaltziness to listen to what he's actually saying.
Yes.
And but it's one of those songs where like he ramps it up, and man, it's a really cool transition.
Agreed.
Yep.
When I looked at that title, and I saw Clark, I kind of read that as Clark and Hillman. So,
right?
The birds.
Easy
the
to
birds.
do, right?
Yeah,
Nice.
and then I had to double take that and say, oh, no, it's not a...
It's not a Birds reference.
Not a Birds reference, so...
Or who knows, maybe change Hillman to Hillman.
Maybe, I don't know.
All right, well, let's move along. So, Live and Let Live is next. Let's give it a listen.
Ooh.
Oh, the snot has caked against my pants. It has turned into crystal. There's a bluebird sitting on a branch. I guess I'll take my pistol. I've got it in my hand, because he's on my land. And so the story ended. You know it oh so well. Oh shit, you need, I'll tell you. The end. Yes, I see you sitting on the couch.
All right, Jim. Live and Let Live, according to Jim Strong.
I feel like I'm being graded now. Lyrics thing. I liked this tune. That first line.
It's a bit much.
Jethro Tull said it a little better.
Yeah, talking about snot running down his nose, right? So it was like the lyrics were so odd to me, but I loved the instrumentation in the song, and I loved the arrangement. Well past my 3-minute mark, but I don't know what else I would say about it. Just that I found the lyrics a little odd.
Like they didn't match the song. But I mean, the lyrics were great. I think I'm sorry, I interrupted, folks. Sorry about that. What my turn?
No, feel free to jump in.
No, No, we'll finish our order because that's how I remember. That's how I remember. Sorry.
All right, Frank.
Frank's a wonderful editor, folks. I do this all the time on the show. Sorry.
Yeah, odd way to start a song, but that's fine.
Completely.
And more foreshadowing of what's going to be happening in the future, because he serves his time, he serves it well. You make my soul ascend. Very prophetic, or however it should be said, but that particular those lines stuck with me, knowing what his past was. But the song itself, again, music, happy, peppy, lyrics, smack in the face.
Nice.
Yeah.
So,
all right.
but
not
my favorite song.
Interesting. All right, let's unleash the beast.
I'm waiting for Frank to go.
I know.
This is my favorite.
I know. All right, Jerry.
Is it coming?
Oh, there's
Keep
Soraya.
waiting, Soraya. Keep waiting.
All right, Jerry. Jerry, we'll take the muzzle off you, Jerry.
Well, yeah, the first line is it's unusual, but if you listen to the second line, it covers it. If you just listen to the, I'm not going to repeat it, but I mean, if you listen to the second line, it backs up the first line. So he's in a circumstance, and it's an unusual lyric, but if in other words, if you hear that first lyric and go to the next tune, you're missing it. The second line backs it up. He's in a predicament. He's in a situation, and it's kind
of like you were just there.
Well, yeah, no, not that bad. I'm not that bad yet, Frank. I don't have a pistol. It's a wonderful tune. It's a wonderful tune, and again, it's gritty. These lyrics, and it does it takes you to a place of some poor soul's situation in life. So yeah, it's a heavy duty first lyric, but listen to the second one, backs it up, and it's good.
Nice. I'm glad you brought up the word gritty, because to me,
yeah,
the tone of the guitar, I think, matches the grittiness of the lyrics. In the solo, it's got this real gritty sound, and I love the tone of that guitar. There's a part where it's almost like a double time part towards the end of the song, and there's a lead over like that double time beat. And just that the lead on that just sounds killer to me. Mainly the tone, but also the playing. And I think, again, it's got that Hofner sounding bass line or bass sound to me, I think. And there's this descending bass line after where it says, "You made my soul a cell." It does this descending line, and I'm always a sucker for a descending bass line or guitar. And it's great. And then I also noted some of the things that you guys said about the lyrics, and I had to write Aqualung with like 3 exclamation points after. Yeah. So.
But this
thing.
was first.
Yeah.
That's what I love about it. This was first by 4, 5, 6 years or more.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I mean, maybe there's a trilogy. Maybe we're missing the 3rd song of the Snot series. So I don't know. Maybe, who knows?
Well, it's not for me to say.
Rim shot.
All right, Soraya, bring this back.
We got jokes, folks. We got jokes.
Stay for the veal.
Yeah. I'll be here all week.
Don't forget to tip your waitress. She worked hard, folks. Oh my. Look, I agree with Jim. I love the arrangement on this song, and this is another song that keeps the title alone, "Live and Let Live." It's basically like, hey man, you deal with your side of the world, I'll deal with mine. Let's not have to worry about stuff. And when he says, write the rules in the sky, but ask your leaders why. It's about, nothing makes sense right now. Nothing about the world we're living in makes sense. And if you want to know why things are the way they are, press, ask questions, resist. That's how I see it. But then again,
love it.
I live in my ivory tower. It didn't bother me as much, but I like your observations about it.
Nice,
so
nice.
It'll make me think about it, about his circumstance, Jerry.
Yeah,
nice.
That second line back. Oh yeah.
I love the insight that you guys have. All right, well, let's move it along so you guys can get to bed sometime tonight.
I love this.
Another one of my favorite titles. Up next, we've got The Good Humor Man. He sees everything like this.
Hummingbirds hum, why do they hum? Little girls wearing pigtails in the morning, la da 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 da. Merry-go-rounds are going round in and all over the town in the morning.
All right, before we get to The Good Humor Man, which is Jerry, let's start with Jim, as we have been doing all night.
I was just looking at the title of this song as you started to play it, and I don't know if anybody knows what The Good Humor Man is. They were the guys who they used to sell ice cream, right, out of the ice cream truck. Good humor ice cream. And so when I read the title and I was getting to the song, and I thought, what is it that the Good Humor Man sees that's so different than anybody else, right? But I kept waiting for some sort of take on the Good Humor Man.
It didn't happen.
Yeah, it didn't happen. And so maybe it has nothing to do with the ice cream man. The Good Humor Man, he sees everything like this. It could just be the guy who's got a good sense of humor. I don't know. Again, so when we got to this song, I was listening to it again, and I thought, sounds like a 60s, something off a 60s movie soundtrack, where somebody's strolling down the street, and this is the song you would be hearing kind of over the top of it.
Nice. Frank, what did you think about this Good Humor Man?
Well, I'm going to throw just a slight curve on that, Jim. Take that opening chord progression and think of Jim Croce, Photographs and Memories. Boom, he stole that song. Almost to a T up until the chorus hits.
Wow.
Nothing under the sun is new.
Yeah.
It's all been done. So many notes.
It's all been done before, yeah.
But the Good Humor Man to me is just somebody. This particular guy, he can see good in everything. And this particular day, why do hummingbirds hum? Who cares? They do.
Yeah.
Nice.
The merry-go-rounds go round. You can't stop it. They're going to go around. It's just like, to me, it's just somebody who is just saying, life is what it is, and make the best of it.
Nice.
So,
is it a song that you like, Frank?
No. But that's not the point. It's a good song. Again, I like the more upper tempo songs, but it was catchy enough to where I didn't fall asleep.
Nice. That's a plus. All right,
that takes a lot, folks.
All right, Good Humor Man. What do you have to say, Jerry?
I like this, and I got in my notes again, everyone. Great strings, great horns, and I always like David Lee Roth, not to digress, but certain of his early stuff. Great horn section. I love a great horn section, and I think it comes from my dad's old 8-tracks. Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass, Ring of Fire by Johnny Cash, and Love captures great horns. Anybody can have horns in a tune, but I got great horns. It's great horns to me in a song is. It makes it better if they're good. And I've heard plenty of songs with horns in it that didn't sound good at all.
Nice.
So that's what I have.
And
great horns, great strings. Yep.
And I love it when Diamond David Lee Roth can get dropped into any episode. That's for me. That's a plus. So right there.
I'm trying to think
There are
what that
times
tune
he
was.
doesn't
Yeah.
belong.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Dave always
More so.
belongs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially if you ask him.
Yes. I'll be the first to tell you.
Right, he will.
I don't have a whole lot to
Before he
add.
asks the question.
Yeah. I really like the song a lot. The progression reminds me of a lot of And More Again. The beginning progression. That's what the first thing I thought of. And like Jerry said, the thing that I noted was the horns and the violin sound really cool. And I just put it's a super chill song, which I'm thinking of that as a positive thing. And I really like when a violinist will pluck the strings rather than use the bow. I just really like that song, and they were able to incorporate that into this, and that was one of the things that I noted that I liked about it. Soraya, what about you?
I like it, and it hits Jim's limit at 3 minutes, and it's this kind of breather, like kind of light, and the arrangement is really, I don't know, it's just very light and springy. That's what it reminded me of. And it is just this little break. Because then we go into two pretty heavy songs. Tracks 10 and 11. So track 10, Bummer in the Summer, Jim at under 3 minutes. And then track 11, which is at 6:49. So it there's balance. But
all right, well, let's start with Bummer in the Summer.
Sounds good.
Well, I remember when you used to look so good, and I did everything that I possibly could for you. We used to ride around all over town, but they're putting you down for being around with me. But you can go ahead if you want to, 'cause I ain't got no papers on you. In the middle of the summer, I had a...
All right, Jim. A bummer? Was this a bummer for you?
No. I was a little concerned with that title, Bummer in the Summer. I was like, oh man, it's going to be 2 minutes of misery. It's going to be terrible. And it was all upbeat. Here's my question. Am I the only one who had shades of Gloria when they heard this?
Oh,
a little bit.
Interesting.
Okay, so I'm not alone. Okay, good. I wanted to say GLORIA. So no, I wasn't bummed out. I like the upbeatness of it, and I enjoyed this track.
Nice. What about you, Frank? I still haven't heard.
Ding, 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 ding,
What?
ding, ding. Love this song.
What?
I have got this on constant repeat on my phone, on my iPod, on the computer, everywhere. Been learning it on guitar. There will be a Shake and Abe remake of this, I guarantee
Oh
it.
wow!
That's how much I love this song.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jeffrey and Soraya, we got through.
I ain't got no papers on
We
you.
broke down the granite wall.
Love this tune. Love this
Wow.
tune.
Nice.
Could have used 10 more just like it.
Wow. Nice. What about you, Jer?
Actually, on this one, I concur with Frank. I have got rocking blank tune. Rocking tune, and of course, Ball All Day. Oh,
Nice.
talk about lyrics, Soraya. No, this is the rockinest. Yes, great tune.
Yeah.
They just. This is fantastic. Fantastic.
In only 2 minutes and 20 seconds. The intro of the song, the
Perfect length, I might add.
Yeah.
Right in Jim's wheelhouse. Yep.
Nice. It sounded like Jethro Tull at the beginning, just that dun 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 dun. It reminded me of like a Tull song. And then when the solo comes in, I was thinking Birds right away. That was the first thing I thought of that solo. I think it's a great jam, and I love the rhythmic changes in the song. Just it keeps it very interesting. By the time the 2 minutes and 20 seconds comes around and it ends, and I just want to rewind it again. It has that kind of effect on me. Like it's so effective in such a short period of time. I didn't want it to end, but I'm glad. I'm glad it does, because it makes me want to come back to it too.
Yeah.
And I concur with everything all of you have said, and I just add, it's like this little time capsule, because I love these lyrics. I'm a thinking of you, mama, when you're thinking of another man. Like, I'm thinking of you, even though you're thinking of somebody else.
Yeah.
But you can go ahead if you want to, because I ain't got no papers on you. No, I don't. I ain't got no papers on myself. So basically, like, hey, you go your way, I go my way. If we come back again, that's great.
That's right.
But such free love in this song.
Yeah.
Like, girl, just go. And then it's set to this really cool rhythm. And yeah, I thought birds. At that solo, I thought birds.
Nice. Well, we made it to the last song, so...
Can you believe it?
Well, I bet you two are happy.
All right.
This is wonderful, folks. This is wonderful. Yeah.
That's how much we like it. We can keep
That's it. That's it.
All right. Well, let's give it a listen.
Stuff.
I can't wait to hear what you guys think of it. Let's give it a little listen.
Where are you walking? I've seen you walking. Have you been there before? Walk down your doorsteps, you'll take some more steps. What did you take them for? There's a private in my boat, and he wears fizz instead of medals on his coat. There's a chicken in my nest, and she won't play until I've given her my best. At her request, she asks for nothing. You get nothing in return. If you want, she brings you water. If you don't, then you will burn.
All right. It really pains me that I have to fade that one out, but but I am very anxious to hear what you guys think. Jim, what do you think of this last song? You set the scene.
Well, of course, I was very concerned when I saw that 6 minutes 49 seconds.
Yeah,
I was like,
same here. When I saw that song, I said,
oh man. I have to say though that I really like this song because the arrangement is very complex. And to me, this was like sort of a song that sort of spoke to the genius, I think, of Arthur Lee, you know. And overall, the album, since we're kind of at the end, I'll just make this statement. Overall, you know, it was not unusual at that time to use, you know, they would use strings to like sweeten things, or they bring a horn part in to like sweeten things on the album. As you know, you're familiar with production, they use that sort of term, right? But there's so much orchestration on this album. It's not just there to sweeten it. I mean, it really adds something to the song. I think it really adds something to the songs. Yeah. And so overall, I really liked this album. I was so happy that you guys chose this album and invited us to do this, because it really turned me on. I only know the singles, you know. I only know Alone Again or 7 and 7 Is. I'd Love to Change the World. And you know, there's certainly elements of that. You know, if you listen to I Love to Change the World, right? He talks about all these problems in the world and then says, I don't know how to solve them. You know, I leave that up to you guys. Right? And there's a lot of that, I think, on this album, right? He just brings up kind of all these problems that are going on in the world and just kind of points them out. And there's not a whole lot of the way in the solution to these songs, but the arrangements, the orchestration, the instrumentation, it's really, I think overall I would call it a masterpiece album.
I like that. That's a great way to summarize
it. Heavy. I like it. Yep.
Frank, after this one that really sparked your interest, how do we do after that?
Oh, it ends on such a high level, because the song itself, 6 minutes plus, but it is another deep tune. The lyrics, what I like about Love is the lyrics don't just, it's not a pop song. They don't sing verse, chorus, verse, chorus, verse out. This is ongoing. It's telling a story, and it's almost like I'm going to slap you in the face until you understand what I'm trying to tell you. You know, because this song goes on and on and on, and he's letting you know, what was that one line? Fight for what your father believes in. Wow. Yeah,
There's
I don't
a
have to
man
believe
who
in it.
can't decide if he
Right.
should fight for what his father thinks is right.
Right.
Isn't that crazy? What I want to kind of piggyback on what Jim said, the time signatures on this album are crazy because it's not just a straight 4/4 song. Everything has changes all over the place, and that's what really adds to it with the strings and the horns and everything else. And again, I go back. The production is just amazing for the time that it was recorded. Even the remastered version, you hear it a little clearer, but you can tell they did a clean recording.
Yes,
it was
they did.
good. Great album. You guys picked a winner on this one.
Yes.
Nice. Jerry, what do you think about this song and in conclusion of the album?
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Jeffrey, but I don't agree with Frank often. But the production value is phenomenal. And to me, when you can throw a cello in a tune, I think that's it brings my ear and my brain right into the song. And I've got on my notes cello, great strings, again, like Frank said, well recorded, very clean, and of course the bass in this one too. Just this band love is awesome, and thank you, because I've already downloaded it. It's fantastic. And again, folks, considering it was 50 years plus ago, it makes it even more better. But to me, the cello and the strings on that tune is just, it brings me in. A cello will bring me in almost any time, I think, if it's done right.
Yeah, I totally agree. The cello is the instrument for me. Like when I hear it, like especially the use on this song where it's that at the beginning.
Yeah.
To me, that the sound of a cello, I don't know if it's what it is about it, but I instantly get the feels, as the kids say. Like that's the one. Yeah, that's the one that really brings out the emotion. Because I'm more of a music person than a lyric person, and the cello is the instrument that makes me feel the most. And when I hear the instrumentation, the orchestration on the song, I immediately think of Nick Drake, who is another artist that I like a bunch. Like talk about vibe. Like Nick Drake's like vibe for days. That's what I think of, and I think that in this song in particular, it's the best use of the orchestration. I totally agree with Jerry that the violins on here, the cello, the horns, amazing. And Jerry mentioned the Moody Blues earlier. That's the band that I thought of when I heard this song. Another band that I like a bunch, but yeah, I think of Moody Blues. And the 12-string acoustic part, when I hear it, I think that's something that I would write. That guitar part is, I do a lot of those arpeggios where you'll take a chord and just play the notes on it, and that's what they're doing on here, and I'm thinking, I can't do anything else on this album, but that part sounds like me.
Very good.
That's something that I would do.
Wonderful.
Love this song. Absolutely love this song. Soraya?
Yeah.
And like all of you have mentioned, it's the extra or the additional orchestration that adds a lot of dimension to the song musically. So it has all these great layers, the cello especially. It really adds, there's this deep musical level, and then it meets up with these lyrics. And for me, it's towards the middle of the song where these are the lyrics. Everything I've seen needs rearranging, and for anyone who thinks it's strange, then you should be the first to want to make this change. And for everyone who thinks that life is just a game, do you like the part you're playing? And so, you think about the title of the song, you set the scene. Personal responsibility. You are responsible. Figure out where you want to be, man, and find your place, find your community, find your tribe, and do something about it. Because if not, you're going to be that guy with that dilemma saying, should I fight this war that my dad supports, or do I fight my own war that's going to take me in a completely different way?
Awesome.
Nice.
Yeah, it's really cool.
All right. Well, we'll let you...
Just a little side note. So for the three of you, Johnny Eccles from the band, he still plays.
The guitar
and
player.
You'll see like a one-off show at least once a year where it says I forget what they call themselves now, but it's like Love Reformed or something like that.
Revisited. Yeah.
And they play Forever Changes from top to bottom.
Now, does he still play lead?
Yes.
I got him down at Johnny
Johnny?
Eccles. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Johnny Eccles found on Facebook. I'm Facebook friends with him, but you can find him on Facebook. But from time to time, he'll get a lineup together and play Forever Changes. And I haven't seen them yet, but I really want to. And this is just such a good album. And whoever they bring in is just really stellar. So just a FYI.
Nice.
Thank you.
All right. Well, before we let you go, real quick, let's just do a round table. I think I know some answers based on what we've said, but just if you could just let us know your favorite song and your least favorite. No explanation needed. We've already talked about the songs, but just curious. So, Jim, favorite?
Oh, favorite? Still Alone Again, or something that stays in my rotation kind of all the time. So that would be it. Least favorite? Live and Let Live, I guess, maybe.
All right. What about you, Frank? We know your favorite, Bummer in the Summer.
Yeah, hands down, Bummer in the Summer, and my least favorite would be Old Man.
What about you, Jerry?
Same thing. My favorite is Bummer in the Summer. My least favorite is The Red Telephone.
Oh.
But they're all fantastic.
Okay.
We do this on our show too. We just, what's your... It doesn't mean you dislike it. You compare it to all the others on the album.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Bummer in the Summer and then The Red Telephone.
Nice.
Jeff?
Yeah. For me, it's a tie. I'm taking the easy way out, but you set the scene.
Tie?
You set the scene, and Alone Again.
There's no ties in podcast.
I can't.
It's his podcast. He can do whatever he wants.
Oh, correctamundo.
Alone Again, and you set the scene, and then Old Man's the part where it takes a little dip, and I think it's more of just the sequencing of where Old Man is more than anything. Soraya, what about you?
House is Not a Motel, favorite, and not so favorite, Old Man.
All right.
There's really nothing on here I didn't care for.
Agreed.
No,
yeah.
it's an eye opener for me. This is a fantastic album.
I agree with
Jeff,
you, Jim, when you say it's a masterpiece. Frank?
Jeff, can I just say one thing before you kick us to the curb?
Yes.
And I'm speaking directly to all the Paisley people who love your guys' podcast and follow you guys. If you stuck around this long with us tonight, thank you very much. Come follow us over at the JFJ Conspiracy Podcast, if you would. Jeff and Soraya are a very unique duo in the love they have for the music that they follow. You won't find anybody else that deeply enthralled in the music. I love listening to your guys' podcast because the guests that you get are amazing. You turn me on to new music every freaking episode. Yes. I love you for it.
Yeah, fantastic stuff. That was one of the first things I noticed listening to your podcast, Jeff and Soraya, was like your love of the subject and your knowledge of the subject, and you guys bring it every podcast. It's just so good.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much.
And let me cut into Jeffrey and Soraya on the Paisley Stage Raspberry Rhyme podcast. I had never heard of this band before you brought it up. And again, iTunes is my vehicle. So with that and the AirPods, the band love is fantastic. So thank you to Jeffrey and Soraya very much. Thank you.
You're very welcome. And before you guys go anywhere, because I'm sure your families are going, TikTok, where are you? Where can people, find your podcast? Do you have social media you want to share? Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok? I don't know. Share.
Go ahead, Jim.
Oh, I was going to say, on Facebook, JFJ Conspiracy Podcast. You can find us on YouTube, JFJ Conspiracy. We're on Buzzsprout. We're on iHeartRadio. We are on
iTunes.
We're
iTunes.
We're on
yes,
iTunes.
thank you. And several other.
wherever
If you want to, if you want to email us, if you want to email a JFJ Conspiracy Podcast, email us at jfjshow@gmail.com, and also on Twitter we are Conspiracy JFJ. And keep rocking, folks.
What about Instagram? Do you guys have an Instagram?
We do have an Instagram.
And that is?
JFJ Conspiracy.
There you go, folks. You can find them anywhere.
Yes.
Everywhere. Go find them.
Hey, and if you ask nicely, Jerry will come mow your lawn. He'll wash your windows. Whatever.
Where the hell did that come from?
Seriously, they've been super complimentary of us, but we can also compliment you guys too. You love music, love to talk about music, and you make it really fun. And hey, who doesn't want to know what's in Jim's fridge?
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
There you go.
Right. Good point.
I don't know. I want to know what sandwich is waiting in there, but
yeah, I'm gonna have one.
That's me. That's me. So. All right, Jeff, should we let them go?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you guys so much. It was such an honor to have you guys on the show.
Honored to be here.
I watch you guys
It's
all the
always
time.
fun talking with you guys. Always fun.
Yes.
All right, and now we got to go on their podcast and talk about David Lee Roth or something like that.
And the horns. Let me get that album. I can't think of the top of my head, but it's that album cover where he's half himself and half the devil in a red outline. Whatever album.
Isn't that every single one?
Little Ain't Enough.
Oh, Little Ain't Enough. Yes.
Yeah. Talk about horns on that. I was going to say talk about great horns on that cassette.
Yeah.
Sorry, folks.
This just took a turn.
I know. My bad.
All right. Well,
thank you again, guys, for having us.
Yes.
Thank you very much, guys. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Soraya. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Bye-bye now.
All right, you guys. Bye-bye. Oh, man. I really, really like those guys a lot. They're so much fun. I feel like when I watch on YouTube, that's how I listen or watch the JFJ Conspiracy, and I always feel like I'm hanging out with friends. And I know it's those three that are doing the conversation, but I feel like I'm the fourth guy. Like there's a dimension, and I talk to the screen when I'm watching those guys, and they can't hear me because I'm listening with my headset and I'm making comments to them. Like I just feel like they're just fun guys to hang out, and for me. It was really an honor to have those guys on Paisley Stage Raspberry and Rhyme. This album, I totally agree with Jim. It's a masterpiece. It was such a big influence on so many bands of the time, and still to this day. On the scene that we talk about, of course, the Paisley Underground. And it was just a blast hearing what those guys had to think. And I wanted to thank you for indulging me to let them come on the show. I know you're a fan too, but I feel like those are one of my buds right there. Those guys.
Totally.
Yeah. So.
I know, and it's fun, and it's always good when we can kind of talk things through and just hear different viewpoints.
Yeah, each one of those guys brought something to this album for me, and I knew you would, certainly from a lyrical standpoint. But they all had something to say about the album that is going to make me actually appreciate this album even more because of their insight.
And I'm sure you liked having more musicians to talk about the album with, because I can't help you. I can't help you.
But you can help me with lyrics, that's for sure.
I always like to listen to that sort of stuff. But no, it's such a great album, and it's had such an impact on several scenes, so it's just neat hearing. And I had no idea so many different types of bands have covered love songs. You know, like Chris Pettis Band and Calexico, and it's just neat hearing that.
Yeah, there's so many. Like if you go on YouTube and you just type in Alone Again or cover, you're gonna find so many results. So not just that song. 7 and 7 Is. I have a single that's
the one that gets covered a lot.
I have a single that's the love version on one side and Rush doing a version on the other side.
That's trippy.
Yeah, Neil Peart unfortunately just passed away, the drummer for Rush, and that was really tough for me as a as an old fan of Rush. I have all of their albums up to Signals and still listen to them. My buddies and I went to see a Rush movie, documentary / concert show last year. Had a great time. But yeah, so even bands like Rush were influenced by Love. So you can hear all kinds of covers from songs from this album as well as their other albums. So all are worth checking out.
Very cool. Absolutely.
All right. Well, I think it's about time we wrap this one up.
Well, let's do it then. Gente, a groovear.
Groove on, Paisley people. Don't call me Bill or Phil.
Never.
But Plastic Nancy, maybe. Wrong song.
You have to edit. You have to edit.